thank you for joining me today. You are watching What Helen Reads and I'm Helen, and today I'm sharing my latest book haul with you. The last time I did one of these videos was in January, and since that time I have acquired 10 ebooks, 9 audiobooks and 12 physical books. So I'm going to be going through all of those with you today. Plus I have got 2 bookish items to talk about at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Now, I'm not going to go into them in a lot of detail because I have reviewed most of these on my channel before, but there are a couple in here that I've acquired that I haven't actually read yet, so they'll be going on a future TBR for me to make my way through and share my review with you at some point in the future. Today I'm going to kick off with the ebooks that I've purchased. Now, as I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, the majority of the books that I read I do borrow on Kindle Unlimited, but of course there are books that aren't available on KU, and sometimes therefore I have to purchase books, or there might be authors that I want to support by buying a book but I don't necessarily want a physical copy. So let's go through each of the 10 ebooks that I've bought since January. The first one is Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston, and this one is an historical romance, and it was recommended by Amber from Amber Reads Romance. In fact, it was one of her favourite books from 2024, and so based on her recommendation I bought this one, picked this one up, and this is a romance between Cora and Nate. Cora is recently a widow at the start of this story, and she has 2 children, and because of the way the law works in England during this particular time in history, she is at risk of losing her children to the children's aunt and uncle because she doesn't physically have custody of those children. And so in order to ensure that she will be able to keep the children, she needs a new husband, and so she decides to enlist her friend Nate's help, because he is going to pose as her fake fiance, and they're going to pretend that they're going to be getting married so that she can win custody of her children in court. And that is kind of the premise of this story. It was a really sweet historical romance and I rated it 4 stars. Then I picked up Crossing the Lines by S.J. Hooks, and this one is a billionaire kind of erotic romance. This was actually recommended by a viewer, and it was a book that I pulled from my jar and read earlier this year. I really enjoyed this one, rating it 4.5 stars, and this was a romance between Abigail and Simon, and in this story they enter into a sex deal where a couple of times a week she is going to go over to his house and pose as a 1950s style housewife, and then at the end of the evening when she's baked him his cakes, made him his dinner, he's then going to take her up to his study and have his wicked way with her. Like I said, I really enjoyed this one, giving it 4.5 stars. Next up, I picked up books 1 and 2 in the Molotov Betrothal series, and we are talking about Terrible Beauty and Beautiful Chains by Anna Zaires. Now, if you've watched my wrap up from last month, then you'll know that I was extremely angry by the time I finished the second book in this duet. And that is because I thought it was a duet, but actually, in fact, it's going to be a trilogy, and book 3 is not yet available, and book 2 ends on a very devastating cliffhanger. So I am desperate to read more in this trilogy. And we were following Alina and Alexei. It's a mafia romance, captive style of romance. This is in fact an arranged marriage, but Alina is trying to get out of this marriage, and eventually after a number of years Alexei runs out of patience and he actually goes to kidnap her, bring her back to his yacht and force her into this marriage that was arranged for them. Now, I rated the first book in this trilogy 3.5 stars and the second book 4 stars, but I do have high hopes that the trilogy will end on a good note, and therefore looking back I can rate the trilogy much higher, but we will see, because at the moment in time we don't actually have a release date for that book, and it's been a couple of years since Anna Zaires wrote book 2. The next one I want to mention is The Beast Takes a Bride by Julie Ann Long, and this was actually my most recent read. I just finished it last night at the time of filming. This is another historical romance, and this one was actually recommended by Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life, and it was actually one that I pulled from my booktuber jar where I put in 12 recommendations from 12 booktubers, and Crystal's book came out last month, so I just recently read that one. Now, you'll know that I don't normally love historical romances, but I like to give them a go every now and then, and I really trust Crystal's recommendation, so decided to give this one a go, and it really didn't disappoint, and it actually surprised me by how much I really did enjoy this one. Now this is actually book 8 of the Palace of Rogues series by Julianne Long, and I haven't read any of the books in this series, so that basically means you can just pick this one up and read this one. You don't need to read these in order. I wasn't lost at all, and I really loved this story. I thought it was very witty, and while I didn't laugh out loud, it was a humorous book, and I really enjoyed the writing style and also the romance between this couple, and we were following Alexandra and Magnus. So I actually rated this one 4.5 stars. Next up, I picked up Don't Tease Me by Renee Rose. This one is a mafia romance, and it's book 1 in her Made Men series. Now this one was actually available for free to download. Renee Rose was doing an offer for a limited time, so you could download this one for free, and then obviously the rest of the books in that series you do need to pay for. None of those are on KU, but I think there's 3 in this particular series. This one is a mafia romance, but it's also a bit of a sex deal. It's got a BDSM element to it, and we were following Lexi and Bobby. Really enjoyed this one. It really surprised me by how entertaining it was, and I rated this one 4 stars. Next, I purchased just a short story. It was just 62 pages, so I can't remember exactly how much it was, but I think it was like $1.99, $2.99, something like that. So not exactly a bargain to buy, but I hadn't read anything by Stella Andrews before, and I thought this was a good starting point just to get a taster to see if I liked her writing style, and also because I needed something really short for the start of the Mafia Romance Readathon that took place earlier in May. So like I said, this is a short story. It's part of the Vegas Mafia series, and we were following Maximus and Sierra. Now, because it was so short, we didn't get too much of their romance or their connection, and I rated this one 3 stars, but I did enjoy the writing style and will definitely read more from this author. And just at a very high level, what this one is about is that these two are actually arranged in marriage, but they've never met each other before, so they don't know what each other looks like, and they both go to Las Vegas to kind of have their last night of freedom before they have to walk down the aisle the following day, and they end up meeting and spending the night together, not knowing who each other is. And then of course, when they finally make it to the church the following day and they see each other and realise that is the person that they spent the night with the night before, and that is basically the story. So another one I purchased was Disclaim by Pam Godwin, and this is book 3 in her Deliver series. Now this is a dark romance series, and the theme is very much around sex trafficking and sex slavery, and in this particular one we were following Camilla and Matthias. Surprisingly to me, this was also a mafia romance because our hero in this one is part of the cartel, and Camilla is kind of a freedom fighter. She is trying to find sex trafficking rings and bring them down and free the victims. Obviously this is a Pam Godwin, so it was really well written. I didn't think it was as good as books 1 and 2 in the series though, but I'll definitely continue to read more, and I rated this one 4 stars. Next up, I picked up Deep Kiss of Winter by Kresley Cole, and this is book 8 in the Immortals After Dark series. Now I've got a few other books in this series that I'm going to be talking about later as well, because the majority of these books from this series I've been listening to as audiobooks, but this particular one, Deep Kiss of Winter, I couldn't actually get as an audiobook here in the UK, because this is kind of a bind up of 2 stories from 2 different authors, and the first story in this bind up was the one by Kresley Cole, which is kind of numbered as book 8 in the Immortals After Dark series. You can also get it, I believe, in the US as a book called Untouchable, and that is available on audiobook, but like I say, I couldn't find it anywhere in the UK. But in the end, I bought this one as an ebook and just read the first story. This one therefore is a paranormal romance. We were following Murdoch and Daniela, and Murdoch is a vampire and Daniela is half Valkyrie and half Ice Fae, and it meant that she couldn't be touched by anyone because she would either become very hot and it would burn her, or she would freeze the person who was touching her. So it's a romance between her and Murdoch, and then figuring out how are they going to be able to be together physically, you know, because of this attribute she has that she's very cold. I have been working my way through the Immortals After Dark series because I'm following along with Amber Reed's romance in her read along for the year, so we're reading 2 books a month, and this one I rated 4 stars. And the final ebook that I have to share is Unloved by Peyton Corinne. This is a contemporary ice hockey romance. It's book 2 in her Undone series, and we were following Matt, otherwise known as Freddie, and Ro. Now I really did enjoy this read. I thought it was great. It wasn't quite as good as book 1 in my opinion, but still a really good read, and I believe I rated this one 4.5 stars. Okay, so that's the 10 books that I purchased, and now let's talk about the audiobooks that I bought via Audible or used one of my monthly tokens. The first one was Twisted Games by Anna Huang, and this is book 2 in her Twisted series. This is a bodyguard romance between Rhys and Bridget. Rhys is the bodyguard and Bridget is in fact a princess of a European country, and during the course of this book she becomes next in line to the throne and has to go through queen training, and of course it's a taboo romance between her and her bodyguard Rhys, and how they're going to overcome her responsibilities as queen because he isn't of noble blood, so how are they going to be together? I really enjoyed this one, rating it 4.5 stars, and the audio book was narrated by Aidan Snow and Cindy Kay. The next one was an Immortals After Dark tale. This one was Wicked Deeds on a Winter's Night by Kresley, and this is book 4. And in this one we're following Bowen and Mary, and Bowen was essentially a werewolf. He's a Lycae, so he's a werewolf, and Mary, who is a witch. I really enjoyed this one, rated it 4 stars, and as they all are for Immortals After Dark, this one was narrated by Robert Petkov. So then I've got book 5 in the same series, Dark Needs at Night's Edge, and this one is a romance between Naomi and Conrad. Conrad is one of the Roth brothers' vampires, so brother to Murdoch, who we mentioned earlier, and Naomi is actually a ghost in a house because she was brutally unalived in the 1920s, and since then she's been trapped in this house as a ghost. And when Conrad is taken there by his brothers and kind of like held captive there because they're trying to save him, he actually ends up meeting Naomi, and of course everyone thinks that he's mad and crazy and is hallucinating, but of course Naomi is real, and this is their romance. Again, I really enjoyed this one, rated it 4 stars, and narrated by Robert Petkov. And finally then, the last Immortals After Dark book that I need to mention today is Kiss of a Demon King. This is book 7 in the Immortals After Dark series. It's another paranormal romance, obviously, between Rydstrom and Sabine, and Rydstrom is actually a rage demon. He is the rightful heir to his territory, so he's the king of the rage demons, but he has been outed. So 400, 500 years ago, a powerful sorcerer actually took over his lands, and ever since then he's been trying to find a way that he can take back control of his kingdom. And then we have Sabine, who is a powerful sorceress herself and happens to be the half sister of the guy who took Rydstrom's throne from him, and so it's a romance between that couple. This one was 4-star read as well, and again brilliantly narrated by Robert Petkov. Next up we have When Heroes Fall by Giana Darling, and this is book 1 in the Anti-Heroes in Love Duet, and we're going to be talking about this one again shortly because I have also got this one as a physical book as well. I actually picked this one up from the Mafia Romance Readathon. It was recommended by Kyan from Kyan Is Booked, and of course I did have this one on my TBR, and I've had it on my TBR for a long time, so it was a great opportunity to pick this one up. This is a mafia romance set in New York, and it's between Dante and Elena, and Dante is the head of his mafia family, but he's currently on trial for murder, and Elena is one of his lawyers who is trying to obviously defend him in court and get him off for this murder. And during the course of this first book they are going to fall in love. So I rated this first part of this duet 4 stars, and it was narrated by Rose Dioro and Jeremy York. Another fantastic read that I read earlier in the year was Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This is book 3 in the Rose Hill series. It's a small town romance between Rhys and Tabitha, and Rhys is actually Wild Side. He's secretly a professional wrestler, and Tabitha is his love interest. Now, these two are thrown together because Tabitha's sister passes away, leaving a child behind, and Tabitha wants custody to raise the child for herself, but Rhys is the one that's actually been left as guardian in her sister's will, and so these two come together to co-parent her sister's baby. Like I said, this was a fantastic read, rated it 5 stars, and it was narrated by Jason Clark and Samantha Brentmore. I picked up Mountain Boss by S.J. Tilley. This is book 1 in her new series, The Mountain Men. This is another small town romance between Courtney and Sterling. Sterling owns his own business. He owns this getaway retreat. It's kind of like a holiday camp for people who want to come and kind of spend a little bit time in the wilderness, do some hiking and some fishing and that sort of thing. And at the start of this book, he is looking for a new maintenance person to come and work for him. He thinks he's hired a man, but when Courtney turns up, he realises his mistake and he's actually hired a woman, and he's not too happy about it at first, makes her life a bit of a misery, but quickly comes to his senses and then spends quite a bit of time doing nice things for her and grovelling to make up for his bad start. This one was narrated by Erin and Colette Craze, and I rated this one 4 stars. I also listened to Kiss the Villain by Rina Kent. This was book 1 in her new series, the Villain series, and this one is a spin-off to Legacy of the Gods. It was a dark romance, and we were following Gareth and Caden in this one. This was a very toxic relationship between these two, but I couldn't look away. Really enjoyed it, rated it 4 stars, and the audiobook was brilliant. It was actually had a full cast, including Stephen Dexter, Grayson Owens, Teddy Hamilton, Shane East, Corvin King, Samantha Brentmore and Vivian LaRue. So a great audiobook to listen to. And then the last audiobook is Destroy Me by Michelle Hurd. This is book 1 in her Corrupted Royal series, which is a mafia romance. This one was a very loose Romeo and Juliet retelling featuring Misha and Aurora. Essentially, these two are in rival families, but they both go to the same mafia academy, and of course they're not going to be able to resist their attraction to each other, but they are going to have to try and figure out how they're going to end up together because, like I said, they're rival families, and if anyone finds out, they're going to be in quite a lot of trouble. I enjoyed this one, but it wasn't my favourite Michelle Hurd. Rated it 3.5 stars, and this one was narrated by Samantha Cook and Duncan Cole. Okay, so with the ebooks and audiobooks out of the way, now on to the more exciting part, I think, and that is the physical books that I picked up in the last few months. So all of the books that I've got I want to talk about are on my pile to my side, but I'm going to start off with this duet, which is Our Thing and Cosa Nostra by Nicci Harris. This is books 1 and 2 in her Kids of the District series, and it's also books 1 and 2 of a duet that features Max Butcher and Cassidy. So this is the first book. On the front cover here we have Cassidy. She is in fact a ballerina, a very, very good ballerina, and she's known of Max Butcher all her life. He is a very kind of vibrant character, shall we say, in her district, in her neighbourhood, and she first really saw Max when her brother was being bullied by another kid in the neighbourhood, and Max comes along and kind of saves her, and ever since that moment she's kind of had this secret crush on Max, but their worlds don't really connect too well to each other. She's a good girl, like I say, she's focused very much on her school, on being a ballerina, until their paths start to cross when they're a bit older. They end up at a couple of parties together and they start to have a couple of interactions, and Max is a very standoffish sort of character to start off with. Everyone is afraid of him. He doesn't really suffer fools at all, but Max and Cassidy definitely have a connection, and as the interactions kind of increase in frequency and eventually they get to spend some time together when they go away for a wedding, that's when their relationship is really going to kind of start to spark and things are going to happen between these two. Now, I wouldn't say the first book ends on this massive cliffhanger, but a very unsettling situation happens at the end of book 1, and so we're left very much wondering how these two are going to be able to continue to be together as we head into book 2, which then is of course called Cosa Nostra. Now overall I absolutely loved this couple. In particular I loved Max Butcher. He is one of my new book boyfriends for sure. Love spending every single moment with this couple, and by the time we get to book 2 I was super invested, and it got quite emotional, and I'm not ashamed to say I cried at this one as well. So of course each of these books was 5 stars individually and collectively, a 5-star duet. Absolutely loved it and would highly recommend, and because I loved it so much I just had to pick up these two books. So they're proudly going to be added to my collection, and I really look forward to reading more books in this particular series, because everything I have read by Nicci Harris so far, including her new book, Born for Lace, I've absolutely loved. So definitely enjoying that author so far. Next up, I've got two more mafia romances. Probably no surprise. I picked up Ruthless Creatures by J.T. Geissinger. I already have two other copies of this book, but it is one of my favourite mafia romances. The main character in this one, Cage, is one of my all-time favourites, and I just absolutely love this story. And I also love the audiobook for this one. This is narrated brilliantly by Troy Duran as well. And of course, after the Queens and Monsters series, this is book one of that series, was picked up and was reprinted, and especially as it was printed with these gorgeous sprayed edges, I just had to pick these up as well. So far I've got Ruthless Creatures, which is book one, and I've also got a copy of Carnal Urges, which is book two, and this one is a lovely green one. I don't know if this is intentional, but obviously green, because our hero in this one, Declan, is part of the Irish Mafia. But again, like I say, I already have another copy of this book, but I had to pick up the new copies as well because I absolutely love this series. And yeah, when I saw obviously the special editions here, I had to snap them up. Now books 3 and 4 are on order. Hopefully they will come very, very soon, so you'll see them in my next book haul. And they're just slightly harder to get hold of here in the UK, and we didn't have access to them at the same time as people did in the US, for example, but hopefully they will be published and available to us very, very soon, in the next few days in fact, and I'll have them in my hands. Like I said, once they come through, they'll be part of my next book haul for sure. The next one I've got is Beacon by Claire Kent, and this is book 8, the final book I believe in the Kindle series. Now I've actually read through books 1 to 5 in this series, so I still need to read 6, 7 and 8, so this is 8, so I will be getting to this one eventually. The good thing about these is they are pretty short, so they are quick and easy reads as well, and I have really enjoyed the ones that I've read so far, so we'll definitely be continuing on with this series and getting to this one. So why specifically then do I have this book? Well, if you've been watching my videos for a while, then you'll already know, but I am a Patreon of Jen from The Book Refuge. I absolutely love her. She is my favourite booktuber, and I subscribe to her quarterly book box. I'm very, very fortunate that I have got one of the very few international boxes that you can have, and I've been subscribing to her Patreon for a couple of years now. So every quarter we get a book box from her, which contains one of her favourite books from the quarter, plus some goodies as well. And so Beacon was the one that I picked for the first box of this year, which arrived in February. So what she tends to do is she doesn't fully annotate these, but she does put some tabs in for some of her favourite parts, and just put some little comments in there as well. And of course it's always really nice to have those, and feels extra special when you're reading this book. So like I say, I picked this particular one to get from her, and hopefully it will encourage me then to finally finish off this series. So next up I've got A Code of Night and Deception by Eliza Hampstead. This is book 1 in the Swords of Time series, which I believe is actually going to be a duet. This one does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, so we will be getting a second book to this one. Now the reason I have this is because the author herself sent this to me as a thank you, because I am one of her beta readers, and I've been a beta reader for Eliza Hampstead since her very second book. She wrote a series of paranormal romances called The War of the Nephilim, which is kind of featured Nephilim, so these half angels, witches, vampires and other paranormal creatures. And since book 2 of that series, there was 4 books in the series, I've been a beta reader for Eliza Hampstead. So I was absolutely honoured not only to be a beta reader for this book as well, but also to receive this book as a thank you from Eliza. And she sent me a nice little thank you note as well to say, "Dear Helen, thank you for being a beta reader. Your invaluable feedback has truly shaped the book into what it is now. I hope you enjoy the final version." From Eliza Hampstead. And so this will take pride of place on my bookshelf along with the other books that she has written. So just very quickly, what this is about is a romance between Sophia and Henry. Sophia is a woman from our time who goes with her family to visit Warwick Castle here in the UK, and while she's exploring the grounds of Warwick Castle, she ends up in the 1400s and doesn't know how she got there, so she ends up kind of back in time. This is very much described as Outlander meets Black Mirror, because our character Sophia isn't sure whether she is genuinely back in the 1400s, whether she has stumbled across some sort of simulation, she's in there with actors, or someone is trying to trick her in some way. And so the story then follows her as she's trying to figure things out, but also kind of acclimate into this new life. And it's there that she meets Henry, because Henry is a knight and he is going to teach her how to sword fight, because obviously there's going to be still lots of skirmishes and mini battles and stuff to be fought in the area, and she wants to learn how to sword fight for her own protection. And of course, while they're in close proximity together, they're going to start to form a relationship to one another. Of course, not everything is as it seems, and so we're going to have to keep reading to figure out exactly what is going on and why she is there. Next up then, it's a duet that I mentioned earlier, and I have got the Anti-Heroes in Love duet by Giana Darling. We have When Heroes Fall, and then of course When Villains Rise. And this is a mafia romance between Dante and Elena, and Dante is on trial for murder, and Elena has been asked to be part of his legal team to help him in his defence. Now, I've only read book 1 so far, so I listened to it as an audiobook for the Mafia Romance Readathon, like I said earlier. So I've only read book 1 so far. Now, I did really enjoy book 1. I will definitely be going on to read book 2 in the duet. The only reason I haven't so far is, one, because I had so many other books that I needed to get through in May, because I did read quite a lot of Mafia romances for the Mafia Romance Readathon, and therefore I still had a lot of other books that I needed to catch up on. But also, secondly, because although this does end on somewhat of a cliffhanger, I felt this couple were in a safe enough place that I could leave them. I didn't feel massively compelled to go on and have to read their second story straight away. By the end of the book 1, things definitely aren't better. They've definitely got worse. But this couple is in a very solid state from a romance perspective and where their relationship is. And so, like I said, I felt fairly relaxed about leaving them where we've left them, and like I say, I didn't feel immediately compelled to have to go on to book 2, but I definitely will read it really soon. Now, one of the reasons I actually picked up these books as physical copies is because I just love the front covers, and I also really am compelled by the titles of these books, right? When Heroes Fall and When Villains Rise. And there's something about these titles that is very intriguing, but also very clever, and I just think about it quite often. And also, like I said, the front covers on these, there's something about them. I think Giana Darling does an absolutely fantastic job with her front covers, particularly the Fallen Men MC series. Again, I've only read 4 of those books, but I've got all of the books as physical copies just because I love the covers so much. They're simple but really effective. I just like the kind of the tones, the colours, and also the models that she picks for the front covers, and I think these are no different. So I think these are absolutely gorgeous, and I just wanted them on my bookshelf. So like I say, definitely will be reading book 2 in this series, When Villains Rise, and really looking forward to seeing how, if at all, they're going to get Dante out of trouble so he doesn't have to go to prison. Next up, I have Jump On 3 by J. Wolfe, otherwise known as Julia Wolfe, and this is book 3 in her Savage Academy series. There's only 3 books in this series, and I've read them all now, and I've absolutely loved every single one of these books in this series, but also everything that I've read by Julia Wolfe has just absolutely been brilliant. So if you haven't read this author yet, I highly recommend her. All of her romances are top notch, and this one was no different. This was another book that I actually got from Jen from the Book Refuge. This was actually one of her annotated books that I got from her, because every quarter she opens up the opportunity to buy an annotated book from her, and obviously she goes through the book and she annotates it and then sends it to you. And I absolutely loved reading books that she has annotated, because it really feels like a buddy read and that I'm reading along with her and kind of getting her comments. Now, what I will say is sometimes her comments do sway my thinking, because sometimes she points out things to me that I maybe wouldn't have noticed for myself, or she thinks scenes are particularly romantic and swoony that maybe I would have kind of glossed over and not paid too much attention to. So by reading her annotations as I read, it kind of really makes me kind of see the book in a different way as well, maybe something that I wouldn't have fully enjoyed myself unless she'd have pointed it out to me. Now, in this particular book, we're following Ivan and Evelyn, and it was a really, really sweet romance. That's what I'll say about this one. It was super, super sweet. Ivan is such a great character, really, really patient and kind, because Evelyn is a very special heroine indeed and needs just a little bit more TLC, a little bit more care than maybe some other heroines that we've come across before, and Ivan is absolutely the perfect partner for her. So I really enjoyed this one, and if you will look out for my May reading wrap up, you'll get my full thoughts on this one. Okay, so the final books that I've got to share with you are actually part of kind of book boxes. And the first one is very, very exciting because I have been on the Mystic Box waitlist for a very long time, and they finally let me in. I finally came off the waitlist, was able to subscribe to Mystic Box, and I chose to subscribe for a year. I thought, while I've got the opportunity, I'm just going to treat myself, and it was around Christmas time, so I got it for myself as a treat for the year. So the first box that I got, it's still in the box here. It came, I think this was the January-February box, and eventually it came in about March time. And if you haven't bought from Mystic Box before, when you do open it, you can see it comes really, really well packaged because the books are completely covered in kind of like styrofoam. And then when you get them out of the box, like I say, they're completely covered in styrofoam, and you can just lift them out like this, and then you have the books inside. So this was the Jill Ramsower book box, and in this one we have Silent Vows. You can see I've still actually got the cellophane on this one. I haven't actually opened it yet. So I'm actually going to open it live now, just so we can take a look together and see exactly what's inside these books. So this is the first one, like I said. Let's open it up. It's got a fantastic insert there, signed by Jill Ramsower, pages, and also then the chapter headings as well. So that is really, really nice. Let's take off the cover. It's not double-sided, so it's just one-sided, but the hardback version of this is also amazing. Look at that. And then I'll turn that around. And you can see the heroine on the other side there. So I've never actually read a Jill Ramsower book, so I have absolutely no idea what these are about, but I believe she writes mafia romances. But I will be reading these at the next available opportunity, and I have just started a book by her for the very first time, which was recommended to me and pulled out of my jar last month, so it was part of my TBR for this month, and so hopefully I will enjoy this author and then read more from her. I'm also hoping for that because when I go to Rare London later this year in July, I've actually got a pre-order from Jill Ramsower for another special edition from her as well. So I hope I am going to enjoy her writing style, because if not, I'm going to have quite a few books by an author that I don't enjoy. So fingers crossed, and I've heard lots of good things about her writing, so I'm sure I will absolutely love them. So while we're at it, let's open up the second one as well. This is Corrupted Union, and I know so little about these that I don't even know which book is first, because I believe these are part of, you know, a series. In fact, Mystic Box did offer a kind of a top-up as well, because they offered the rest of the books in this series, but I haven't purchased them, and probably I'll end up regretting that, but we'll see. So here is the book without the cellophane on the side and the back. I think it's absolutely stunning. On the inside we have, again, like a really nice kind of insert, and then once again I believe it's signed by Jill Ramsower. Let's see. No, this one doesn't actually seem to have a signature by her in this one. It just goes straight into the first chapter. So maybe the other book is the first one in the series and she just signs the first one, and then after that they are not signed. But this is my very first Mystic Box, like I said, that I have subscribed to. I do have two other books from Mystic Box, which are Sam Mariano's Untouchable and Brutal Ambition, which I showed last time, but they are, I actually bought those kind of on eBay from another seller, and those two are actually still in cellophane as well. So here is the hardback version without the sleeve, and so you can see we've got a hero on the front, and again our heroine is on the back there. So those are absolutely gorgeous and really like those. So they'll be definite trophies on my shelves. Now the very last book that I have to show you today before I get onto my 2 bookish items is a Kickstarter that I got from Maggie Cole. I got her Ruthless Stranger Kickstarter, and so this again came kind of at the start of the year, but not in time for my last book haul. So I've been saving this ever since, and so this is still in the box. Now I have had everything out. Wasn't able to quite fit everything back in just the way it came, but Ruthless Stranger is another OG Mafia romance for me. I absolutely love the characters in this one, Maxim and Aspen, and so when I saw that she was doing a Kickstarter, I obviously had to jump at the chance and get my hands on this one. So in here were a number of items, but I'm going to start with the book first. So I actually got the hardback edition of the Kickstarter. You could get a paperback version as well, but I wanted the hardback, and this kind of comes in a hardback sort of sleeve. You can see there, to keep the book nice and safe. And then also then you have this fantastic design on the front here, the side and the back. The book also comes with this nice kind of like ribbon for a bookmark. It is got sprayed edges, which is really, really nice. Then inside we have some really nice artwork, which is of Maxim and Aspen in Vegas. And again, for the back cover, they are on there as well. Now all of these books were numbered, and I happened to get 267, and you can see that it's been signed by Maggie Cole as well. And then there are some really nice kind of chapter separators as well, and you can see each of the chapters have really kind of nice artwork for them to get the chapters going. So a really, really nice version of the book. Then, because I went all in with this Kickstarter, there was loads of other things in this box. So in no particular order, I've just kind of emptied the box out here. There was a kind of a Las Vegas kind of casino chip with Ruthless Stranger on it, and Maxim and Aspen on the back. There was a sticker of Maxim and Aspen. We kind of have a card here. I don't know if it's supposed to be kind of a hotel room key card. And we also have a really soft touch bookmark. We have a series of vellums as well to add into the book. So we have a series of vellums with Maxim and Aspen. Some that are not safe for work, that we'll flick through. Quite a few not safe for work ones. And then this one here as well, which is another one that I can show you. So yeah, a really nice series of vellums there that can be added into the book. Some more stickers. So we've got some more stickers of Maxim and Aspen. One that says, "For some crazy reason, I'm glad he kept my panties. I don't blackmail, I implement." One that just says, "Ruthless Stranger. It was a one-night deal." Then inside there was also a colouring book. So we got this spiral band colouring book. There was also this black tie, and at the bottom there it has Maxim's sort of logo on it, but otherwise just a black tie. A tote bag. So this was the tote bag here, which says "Spontaneously Reckless." And then the last thing was a mug. So this was one thing that I wasn't able to get back in the box because I didn't pack it very well again after I got it all out. But this one is kind of a travel mug. So you can lift it up and obviously put hot drinks in it. And on here it says, "You know who I am," and she's put "Yes, and I've missed you." So that is kind of the travel mug there for that as well. So there we go. That is all of the ebooks, audiobooks and physical books that I bought, including the latest Mystic box and also the Kickstarter from Maggie Cole, which I've been waiting to share with you because it's absolutely gorgeous. And finally now I can put all of these books away and add them to my collection on the shelves. But before you go, I do have now 2 bookish items to share with you, and so that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so I'm going to start with the most exciting thing. So I treated myself to the latest generation of the Kindle Paperwhite, and I treated myself to the raspberry coloured one as well, and I absolutely love this. So let me know if you want me to do a separate video on my thoughts about this new Kindle, what I wanted to share with this with you. Like I said, I'm really excited. This is only my 3rd ever Kindle. The very first one I had was very old and lasted quite a long time until eventually I couldn't even update it anymore without plugging it into my computer. At which point then I upgraded, and I believe I got the Paperwhite 10th generation, which I've had for about 6 years, and to be honest, it's been working absolutely fine. To look at it, there's absolutely no damage, nothing wrong with it at all. But recently I started to notice that it was quite slow. I often had to reboot it, and also the battery didn't last very long at all. It was only lasting a couple of days maximum, and then I would have to charge it again. So eventually I decided that I was going to treat myself to a new one, and I have to say I absolutely love it. So I think this is the 12th generation. And I did kind of read some reviews to see which was going to be the best option for me. But I just like a Paperwhite. I don't like anything fancy. I don't need it to do anything amazing. I didn't particularly need the colour version, and I just wanted something simple. So this is why I picked this particular model. Now, like I said, I'd read reviews and some people saying it wasn't actually that much better than the 10th generation. But I personally have found that it's so much faster, and that is the biggest thing. It's really quick to connect to the internet, download books, sync with my Kindle app on my phone, sync with anything that I'm doing on the computer. It just does it super fast without any problems at all. And also the battery life is so much better as well. Like I said, I used to have to charge it every other day because I obviously read every day, but with this one it's lasting at least 10 days if I'm using it quite heavily. At least 10 days. If not, then it'll be lasting me for about 2 weeks before I have to recharge this one, and that is good because I am usually reading at least 4 or 5 hours a day, and this is always with me. So if you were thinking about upgrading and you weren't really sure, then I definitely recommend this particular model. And there's often really good deals with these. For example, you know, you could part X your old Kindle for some money back, plus if you spend a certain amount of money, then Amazon give you additional vouchers to spend after you've purchased it. So definitely look out for the good deals on this. But like I say, I haven't looked back since I've had this, and absolutely thrilled with my purchase, so I would definitely recommend. Right, and finally then, a more practical item. I'll probably show you pictures of this separately and then kind of pan around and actually show you the box itself. But because I'm going to Rare 25 in London in a couple of weeks, I was really umming and ahhing about getting myself a book cart or a trolley that I could put my books in when I purchase them and pick them up from authors. Now, I haven't gone as crazy as some people. I know some people who are buying a lot of books, and a lot of people do come with the trolleys, but they also come with suitcases as well to put all of the books in. Now, I've only pre-ordered about 8 books, but I know that in addition to those 8 books, there'll also be probably 2 volumes of the Rare book that I haven't yet pre-ordered but will definitely get. And they usually give away 2 or 3 free books that you can pick up on the day as well. And then of course any that I decide that I'm going to purchase sort of ad hoc on the day that I'm currently not planning, but I may be talked into while I'm there. It is a long day, obviously. If you're carrying the books physically, it can be quite difficult. Plus, the last time I was in London, it was really hot as well. So obviously standing in queues with a lot of people in one room, carrying a lot of heavy things, can get quite stressful. And so I thought it probably would be easier if I did have a trolley. I could push it around and then I wouldn't have to carry it, and that would be easier. Now, I'm still undecided if I'm going to take it, because when I travel to London, I'll be going on the train and the tube, and I need to basically think about the actual logistics of how easy it's going to be for me to transport this on the train. Now, it does completely flat pack down, so that's great, but it is actually quite heavy, and so even with it flat packed down, I'm not sure whether I'll need to strap it to my suitcase, carry it separately, how I'm going to do that. So like I said, I have bought one. At this moment in time, I don't know if I'm going to take it with me, but I think it would be good at least to try and take it with me, see what happens, and then I can at least feedback and say whether I thought it was worthwhile taking or not. So with all that said, I'm now going to attempt to show this to you. So as you can see, it is a regular trolley with a handle that goes up and down. It also has a lid that comes off and it kind of slides down. and it's also on 4 wheels as well. So I wanted to get one with 4 wheels. This is the advice I was given, and 2 of the wheels also have brakes on them as well, so you could park it if you were on a slope or something or didn't want it to roll away. Now I'll link to the actual version that I got. I picked this one up from Amazon, and it is pretty good in terms of storage, and I think it will hold a number of books. But of course also when the lid is actually up, then you can also put some more totes or put your handbag on the top as well. Now I've never actually done this before, so after actually assembling it I've never repacked it down, but let's have a look to see how easy it is to pack away. And so basically the bottom folds up, the sides kind of lock and unlock, and then it simply collapses down, and it's got these handles on the side so that you can secure it in place, and then the handle comes down, and so now it's essentially completely packed away. And so I think that will make for really good storage, so it'll be easy to store. But like I say, I'm not sure yet whether I'll be able to strap this to the side of my suitcase, or whether I'll need to take a slightly bigger suitcase, put this inside, and then take it with me like that. But I will give it a go and then report back and let you know how I get on with it. Okay, so hopefully those shots came out okay and you could see the book cart okay there. If not, then I'll put in some photos instead. And like I said, I'll link to the actual product on Amazon so that you can see which one I purchased. And after I have been to Rare in London, I'll report back and let you know if I actually used it, and if I did, how I got on with it, and if I'd recommend one if you are also planning to go to a book signing in the future. Of course, if you have used one of these before and you have your own thoughts and recommendations about what I should do and if I should take it, then please let me know in the comments box down below as well. So that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content from me, and all that's left for me to do then is say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. And so this will take pride of place on my bookshelf. She wrote a series of paranormal books called The Nephilim's War. Is that right? And we didn't have access to them quite at the same time as you did in... And we didn't have access to them quite... And I can't even read my writing, so I'm going to just check. Hang on. Kindle is downstairs. I will have to go and fetch it at the end.